Welcome to this training video. In this training video, I will provide some fundamental concept of database management system. Just to explain what database is, what database management system DBMS is, and all the related stuff. Just the fundamental concept. So this training video, the content of this video is primarily based on the grade 11 and 12 education in Bangladesh, the ICT course. But whoever is interested in learning database management system can watch this video, and you can also review. Very professional, probably you can just review, just refresh your memory. That's all. So this is Said. I provide consultancy under Just etc. Technologies. So here we provide the training videos in these websites. If you have any questions, you can ask here. Hopefully you'll get the answer. And these are sometimes the offline training courses that we offer. So this is the syllabus and learning objectives. These are in Bengali. You don't need to see it. Okay, the learning objectives. So what we will learn or what we will discuss in this training video. Concept of database and database management system. Activities of a database management system. The activities of a database management system. And what is relational database management system. And we'll know the features of relational database management system. We'll know what is required to create database, what it is about creating database, and what is the concept of data security, and explain the importance of data security. We'll talk a little bit about data encryption, why it is important, what are the different ways of doing data encryption, SQL, it's just language way to retrieve information from database, retrieve, change, all those things, and uses of databases. So what is a database? What does database mean? Database is nothing, it's just a data storage. You just store data for a particular system or for a particular purpose, and then you can call it as the database. However, in addition to storing the data for a particular purpose, the storing has to be very organized. Data retrieval and dealing with the data has to be efficient. Then we can call it a database. You are just putting arbitrary data, but it doesn't facilitate the efficient retrieval or efficient use of the data. Then we will not call it a database. So how our information is stored in computers? When you learn to use computer, when you learn office applications like Microsoft Word, you know that whatever you write, the information are stored in files. So our files are stored in computer hard drives, USB sticks, memory cards. Now, is there any different type of storing data by database? Practically not much. Database, they also store data in files, but as you told, database will store data in a very organized way, so that insertion of new data becomes easier. It's easier to search the data, get the right data. And also get the data in sorted way. So you can store, for example, you can store all the information of a bank in a computer file, just in one single file, whatever bank department information, account information, all the employee information, account holder information, all the branch and department information. We can keep them in a single file, but keeping them can be difficult itself. Later, finding some data from that file will be difficult if we don't define some rules or organize it in that file. Inserting data and managing the file can be difficult. So we will not call it as a database, though it contains information about a system. Now, now we can store the information, just to store the bank information in multiple files, and we can divide the original file that we talked about into multiple files, but we have to organize them in a better way, otherwise it will be difficult to work with them. So as we told, database information are kept eventually computer files, but database will use good strategy on how to store those data into files. Database will store the data in many files, will store in such a way so that it becomes easier to work with the files. And now, okay, this is what a database does. One of the strategy to keep the data in an organized way in a different files or can be as follows. Just we can use the example of the bank. Let's say we can, in one file we can keep the personal information, name, address, phone of the account holders in a file, and we can create another file to keep all the bank account information, bank account ID, name, bank account type, bank account created, bank account balance, all those things. In another file we can keep relationships between these accounts and persons who holds which account. In another file we can keep the employee information. In another file we can keep the department information, branch information, and in another file we can create which account, or maybe in the account file we can keep the relation which account belongs to which branch, if any. So here what we are doing, we are keeping the data or information in a very organized way, and we can create some other files that will keep track which file keeps what type of information. It will help to manipulate or work with the data. And we can create some other files. We store the position of data in different files. So this strategy, if we store data following this strategy, it can be a database because it will be easier to work with the data. So what is the database management system? Now in real life we have software that help us to achieve this kind of strategy. So those type of software we call them database management system. Another thing is, let's say this is not the only one way of doing stuff. There can have different ways or different strategies. Okay, there can have different strategies to store the data. So all of the software who will provide to implement that strategies will be called database management system. So when you feed data into the DBMS system, what it will do, it will store the data using the strategy and provide ways to manipulate the data in an efficient way. DBMS usually can display data in tabular format. This is the formal definition of database and database management system. So database, what it is telling, is an organized collection of data. The data are typically organized to model relevant aspects of reality in a way that supports processes requiring this information. So what it is telling, the data is stored in such a way so that it facilitates some real life need. Okay, so we can model the hotel room data in such a way so that it can make it easier to find the hotel vacancies. What is a database management system? Database management system are specially designed applications that provides or that interact with the user, that also interact with different applications that are using the data, that and DBMS also interact with the database to capture data and to analyze data. So DBMS, what it is telling, it is interacting with the user to take data, to display data with other applications so that other applications can use the data, and DBMS also interact with the database itself to capture and analyze data. So DBMS, what it is then, a general purpose database management system is a software system designed to allow the definition, creation, querying, update, and administration of databases. MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQLite, Microsoft SQL Server, all are real-life examples of database management systems. Activities provided by a database. Database কি function provide করতে পারে? আচ্ছা, database, it will allow you to create the database, the initial structure. You can create users and control who can access the database and how. DBMS provides interface to take data and to store it. Also, it organizes the data in meta files or in actual data files. DBMS will provide means to search and display the data, and DBMS will also provide security of the data. Database management system will also maintain the integrity of the data so that data are not lost, data are not changed unless the user or a valid process has changed it. Security, so that it is not open to others, cannot be accessed by hackers, competitors, or unauthorized users. So these are the activities, and what are the advantages? It provides improved availability of the data. The data is there, but now you can access it in a better way, and data is available now to different users in an easier way. Minimized redundancy. Data are organized in a better way so that you don't store the same information in several places. You organize them data. Let's say if a person is supposed to can have 10 bank accounts, and if in one file you keep all the personal information, all the bank account information in 10 rows, there will be some repetitious data. Personal information like ID, name, phone, email, all those will be repeated in all of the lines, all of the rows. But in database, what you can do, you can keep the personal information in a table, and you can just use the ID person ID and the corresponding account ID. So you're not repeating the person's information. So you're minimizing the redundancy. Accuracy, just DBMS can keep the data consistent because redundancy is reduced and data is available only through one interface, and it is secured, it is encrypted in case. Program and file consistency. So here we'll be using some standardized method of file storing the data. DBMS provides user-friendly interface and can also provide improved security of the data. What is a relational database model? I think we told that database usually use a strategy to store the data or to organize the data. There can have many different strategies. Okay, one of the strategies is the relational database model. There are others like network model, object-oriented model, but this is just one of the model. All the strategies we have talked about so far, how the database can store data, actually indirectly refers to the relational model. So what is a relational model? A relational model is a way to structure data. A relational model is a way to structure data, and it structures data in the relations, and the relations are matrix or grid-like mathematical structure, and they have columns and rows. So data are organized in columns and rows. So here table is the physical manifestation of a relation in a database, in a relational database. So data is stored in tables. Now in relational model, what is there? I think you identify all the different concepts or objects for that system. Then you create or think about tables for each of the concepts. Maybe some tables to indicate the relationships among those concepts. And each of the table will have some fields, some attributes, some columns. And different tables are linked through these columns or fields. Through some common columns or common fields, the relationships among different tables are defined. So this is actually called, I think there are some concepts like primary key, foreign key. With those, we define those relations in databases. So for a public library system, it can be a simple relational model. There will be books, book information, ID, title, published, price. They are the fields of books. Table, authors table, ID, name, scene, address, fields of columns for the authors table. Members table has these fields. And book borrowers, it is indicating the relation between book and members. Here we can have book ID and member ID as the fields for this table. So book ID indicating this ID, member ID is indicating this ID. So here these are acting as the foreign key, but ID, these are primary key for that particular table. What is a primary key? Primary key identifies uniquely each of the row of the table. For example, or for the table or for the concept, let's say for each book there will have a unique ID. That ID will indicate for a particular book. It should not happen that one ID should indicate multiple books. It should not happen. Okay, in that case we can say that ID book ID can be the primary key for the books table. So in relational model, you can see there is a publisher information, publisher table. These three fields, columns, these are the rows. These are the author related information in this table: author ID, author name, author's name, author birthday. So columns and rows. So this table is defining the relations between these two tables. So it is telling this author has published a book with this publisher, and the title of the book is this. So this publisher ID indicates this and information from here, this author information and ID from here. The author ID, publisher ID are the primary keys for their corresponding tables, but author ID and publisher ID are the foreign keys for this table. Features of relational database management system. It will provide easy ways to create tables. It will provide easy ways to create relations among tables. Provide easy ways to insert, update, search data in a table or from multiple tables. So insert and update data in tables, and it can allow you to retrieve data from multiple tables or single table easier way, and provide ways to validate data at insertion. It will provide language such as SQL-based structured query language for data insertion, update, and search. Support multiple views of data. It can display data in many different ways, or it can create views where the data is composed from multiple tables. And it's easy to create application software having a relational database management system in the backend. So here are relational database management system used: airlines reservation system, banking management system, online banking system, hospital operation management system, library management system. Creating database. What does it involve? This S is extra, right? What does it involve? Let's say for a database management system, it will allow you to create database. Now you can create database in two ways. You can write the SQL, create database XYZ, and you can mention some features of the database, or there can have some graphical user interface, or you can mention different parameters to create the database. So in the creation process, it will ask you the size of the initial database and how to increment the size of the database file, where to store the database uh, database files in the physical file system. It may ask you the model you want to use to create the database, relational, object oriented, or network. So after grabbing this data, it will create the initial structure of the database, and it may also ask or you may also define the character encoding of the database. You want to use Unicode or ANSI or Latin, something. It is important. You have to be careful about this. ANSI is not a good idea. UTF can be a good idea. And after you create the initial structure, you have to create tables. For each tables, you have to create the different fields, and for each field, you have to define the data type. The basic element of database creation is fields or columns. You have to identify the different concepts, object and relations among concepts. Okay, I think this is previous knowledge I just told. For different concepts, you have to create tables. For each tables, you have to create the fields. For each field, you have to define the data type of the field and the length of the data type, length of the field. Now we can say the data type can be byte, bit, integer, long, double, float. Let's see, publisher ID, you can say it's a integer or a string. Date is date type, title is text type. You have to define this in DBMS. Query language, structured query language, it's just a language to manipulate the data. It can be used to define data, or it can be used to manipulate data. Some is the data definition language, DDL. Let's create database, rename database, alter database. Those are data definition language, data manipulation language, update data or select data. Those are manipulation language, data manipulation language. Sorting and indexing. You need to know this concept. It is very related to database management system and the related work you will do with DBMS. So sorting, what does it mean? It does mean arranging the data in an increased order or in the decreased order. So here we have increased the data in their increased order. Here we have sorted the data in increased order. So it is still ascending. And descending, we are arranging data from high to low. Descending order, high to low. So this is descending. Indexing, what does it mean? Indexing is not actual sorting of the data. It just keeps the location of the data if the data are to be arranged in an order, ascending or descending. Maybe we can explain it with example. Let's say these are the original data. Now if we want to index, let's index file. What it will contain? It will contain the position of the data. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 positions here, so index file can contain only 1, 2, 3, 4 to indicate the position of the data. Now this index file keeps the index for increasing arrangement of the data. So it keeps the index of 2 first, that it keeps the index of 4 first, that it keeps the index of 50 first, that it keeps the index of 100. So it is the position of the data if the data are to be sorted increasing ascending order. So indexing, it can make operations, database operations faster, but if you index it by many columns, multiple columns, it can reduce the performance. So these are some differences between sorting and indexing. Sorting physically reorders data. Yes, indexing, it does not physically reorder the data. Speed of operation is slower if you want to sort the file physically. Index, if you want to re-index, then it's literally faster than the original sorting. Searching character field slower, searching character field faster. Matching, okay. Relationship types. It is the relationship between two tables. It can be one-to-one, it can be one-to-many, or it can be many-to-many relationship. Let's say in an English language center. In an English language center, you have established a non-profit English language center. You want to define some database system for it. So the plan is there will be volunteer teachers. They will teach English to students. So there can have the rule is like this: one teacher can have only one student, no matter today or future or whatever is the condition. The condition is one teacher can teach only one student, and one student can take only one teacher. So in that case, between the relationship between the student and teacher is 1-to-1. For one teacher, one student; for one student, one teacher. One to many or many to one. Let's say in university, one student can belong to one department. He cannot belong to multiple departments. Let's say the rule is like this. But one department will have many students for sure. So this relationship we can say one to many or many to one, because one student belongs to one department, but one department can have many students. So one department can have many students. So we are telling it one to many relationship. Many to many, I think it is just multiple. Let's see if one person can have multiple bank accounts, or if the one bank account can be held jointly by multiple people, then we can say for a person there are multiple accounts, for a account there are multiple persons. So it can be many to many relations. E-governance, uses of database for government. E-governance is the application of ICT, information communication technology, for these purposes: delivering government services, exchange of information, communication, transactions, integration of various standalone services and systems. What is e-government? It is telling it's a digital. E-government is digital interactions between a government and citizen, government and business. So the e-government model can be summed up to government to citizens, government to business. So the digital interaction between these. Data security. Data is definitely important for an organization or government. Data should not be able to be accessed by unauthorized person or the competitors. Or the public. And when data are transferred from one place to another through the internet or network or some sort of, it should not be available to the hackers, crackers, or it should not be accessed by public. So how can we provide data security? Some ways: restrict access to the computer, restrict access to the database, use firewalls so that outsiders cannot access, while sending data over the internet or network, encrypt the data, make it unreadable. What is data encryption? Data encryption is just changing the data, distort it, make it unreadable, so that people don't understand it easily. This conversion can take using some algorithms. Some encryption method, they can use keys. Some encryption ingredient: plain text, the text to be encrypted; ciphertext, the text after encryption. Encryption algorithm, it is the method to encrypt. Key, used in encryption or decryption. The keys are some sequence of characters or numbers. It can be long sequence, very big. So it is used in encryption method. Two types of encryption: public key encryption and secret key encryption. Secret key encryption, sender sends data using the encryption key, receiver decrypts the data using the encryption key. These are not known to public. And both sender and receiver knows the key. Public key encryption, here are multiple levels of keys are used to encrypt the data. One key is private to the sender, one key is private to the receiver. Another key is known to both. It may be known to public, probably have to check some algorithms. Caesar code, data encryption standard, international data encryption, RSA. So there are some algorithms for encrypting data. So for further study on encryption example, encryption algorithms, and choosing encryption methods for SQL Server, you can see all of them here. Anyway, have fun. Probably next time we'll be creating training videos on practical DBMS system like MySQL or SQL Server or Oracle. In the meantime, have fun. Hope this information will be useful to you. Have a good day. Bye. Thank you.